Coming up on One Detroit, we'll talk with the director and lead actors in Detroit Public Theater's basketball comedy titled King James. Plus, we'll have a story about a local man's search for his Filipino birth mother. And as part of our caregiving initiative, we'll share stories of local residents caring for family members. It's all coming up next on One Detroit.
Across our Masco family of companies, our goal is to deliver better living possibilities and make positive changes in the neighborhoods where we live, work, and do business. Masco, a Michigan company since 1929.
Support also provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit PBS.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit PBS. Through our giving, we are committed to meeting the needs of the communities we serve statewide to help ensure a bright and thriving future for all. Learn more at dtefoundation.com.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.
Just ahead on One Detroit, it's Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We'll hear from a Filipino adoptee about his journey to meet his biological family. And we'll have more of our conversations with local caregivers about their experiences. But first up, as the Detroit Pistons take on the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA playoffs, Detroit Public Theater is closing its season with a timely production about basketball. King James is a Pulitzer Prize-winning comedy about two Cleveland superfans who forge an unexpected friendship. The play spans 12 years, from LeBron James's rookie season to the Cavaliers' NBA championship win in 2016. One Detroit's Chris Jordan spoke with the play's director and two lead actors.
So, what about LeBron? You think he could be as good as MJ?
He already is. He's better.
What? What does that mean?
It means LeBron has already eclipsed Jordan.
He's a rookie. What are you talking about?
Better than Jordan.
A bar in Cleveland, 2004. Two young men forge a friendship over their love of the Cavaliers in the opening scene of King James at Detroit Public Theater.
Well, King James is a great comedy about friendship and basketball, and the play takes place over the span of LeBron James' time in the city of Cleveland.
You get snippets of their life prior to meeting, but then also you get to see their different points of their life. So between the first two scenes, there's 6.5 years.
So I think ultimately the play is not just about basketball. I think basketball is sort of the parentheses around this whole thing, and the meat of it is just about friendship and the ups and downs and just like people that become family to you, chosen family.
I would also say that the play really is about growing up, because we meet these young men when they are at such a early part of their lives and a part of their careers as they're building their lives. We get to see, what that's like, what it's like to grow up in America, and we have the kind of framework of the game and the framework of the team.
I'm happy for you, man.
Thanks.
Decisions abound. LeBron, and now you.
That's not exactly the same thing.
No, I know. It is, though, kind of similar. I don't know. I guess when you live in Cleveland, the grass really is always greener.
That's not the takeaway here.
I know, but it kind of is.
Telling the story of characters' lives over, a decade plus of time, there's a lot of ways that you could look at that story, a lot of lenses into that. Why basketball fandom?
I think it's because of LeBron James specifically. People like that only come around every so often. There's Michael Jordan and there's LeBron James. So I think that with this sort of idolization or mythologization of people like that, it's easier to create story around that. LeBron James is an American story.
And potentially the greatest player of all time,
yeah.
Some say. And it's a point of great debate throughout the course of the play, is LeBron or Michael Jordan. The conversation is a through line. And it's a through line, I think, through our culture.
Hear ye, hear ye! Michael Jordan has officially become the second greatest basketball player of all time. Long live the King!
That's not true.
LeBron's the GOAT.
LeBron is not the GOAT.
The run of the play is starting as Detroit and Cleveland are facing off in the playoffs. That happening right now adds a whole other layer of significance to the play that might not have necessarily had if the season had been going differently.
It feels like a lot of synchronicity. It feels like the conversation is really relevant and really alive, and it feels really exciting to be doing this play in this moment.
You can also just feel it in the air, like being in Detroit. Like I'm just on the way here, just seeing like throngs of people. It's such good timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like they talk about in the play, you know, it's been 52 years since Cleveland had won a championship, and so even being here at this time, it's been 18 years since the Pistons even made it past the playoffs. And so the fact that we're currently in the semis playing against the Cavs, is really a great moment to be witnessing this while doing the play.
We're already seeing also like people being rowdier and more like attentive in some ways. Even in the previews, of like when we're talking basketball in the show, people are like saying stuff out loud. They can't even help themselves.
There's an active conversation,
yeah,
which we welcome. Dominique
in a good way. Yeah.
Dominique Morceau is our executive artistic producer, and she has what are called the playwrights' rules of engagement, which are literally written on the wall here at the theater. And one of the lines is, "This can be church for some of us, and testifying is allowed." And we have absolutely seen basketball fans testifying.
And that is something that's really unique and really cool about this theater that, you know, a lot of theaters don't welcome. I'm just curious, like for you guys as performers, especially doing something like a comedy that kind of thrives on like audience reaction, what's it like performing this play when the audience is like giving back and having that conversation?
That's actually one of my favorite things about theater, is the fact that we're all in the same space. There's energy that's being shifted, transferred back and forth. And so being up on stage, being able to hear the laughs, being able to hear the reactions fuels me in order that to know not only that I'm doing my job, but that it's like you're engaged, you're connecting with what's being said. And that makes me want to do even more in order to like, okay, how can we almost like remove the veil of like you're just an audience member watching someone on stage. Like, you know, we go to the movies if you want to do that, if you just want to watch somebody perform, but no, it's alive when people are reacting, you know.
I also like, just to talk smack a little bit, because this is basketball related, you know. Detroit just does it different. So like seeing theater in Boston or New York or LA, like people are just like, you know, people here are like, let's go. They are very much more invested. It's just so much more fun, I think, performing in Detroit.
I had a professor tell me once, you know, it's called a play, so you should play.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, thank you to Courtney for giving us the space in order to play, figure things out.
So what is it like for you guys to be just like the two of you carrying this whole play? What's that like as actors? It's got to be incredibly different from an ensemble piece.
Yeah, there's a lot more, I wouldn't necessarily call it pressure, but there is a lot more, at least personally, a degree that I'm like, okay, I want to push even harder, because there's nothing else besides us and the words.
I didn't fully know what I was getting into. It's hard. It's really hard. I think acting requires an immense amount of concentration and focus. And I think that the magic of it is making it look really simple and natural, and so that it seems like it doesn't require that. But with a two-hander, you can never put the ball down for a second. Like, you have to keep up the pace, you have to be listening to the other person, you have to be remembering your lines, you have to be remembering your blocking. But it's also super fun. That pressure is great. That weight to carry is great. And also, just telling the story over a course of an hour and a half with no breaks and like not having downtime, I mean, that's like some warrior stuff as an actor, you know? And I'm not saying that as like for myself, I'm saying that in general, like it feels both difficult and incredibly empowering.
Yeah, Rajiv Joseph, the playwright, structured this play in 4 quarters. So it really is structured like a basketball game, right? So we have quarter 1 and quarter 2 in one location, then we have a halftime, and then we have quarter 3 and quarter 4. And the game is, you know, neck and neck, and we're watching people score points throughout. We're watching these two people going up and going down throughout the play. So the kind of the framework that he created, and the text that he created, and the relationship that he created between these two gentlemen, my job is to just really make that real and feel come alive. And if I cast the play well, a lot of my work is done. And in this case, I feel like we did. But we had a really good time in the room, you know, picking this apart and running those plays. I come from a basketball family, so a lot of people are like, "What, you're doing this play?" And I'm like, "No, I'm doing this play." I've spent a lot of my time, my life, kind of rejecting that. But in my adulthood, I'm like, "Oh, you know what I know a lot about? The game of basketball." And so having that knowledge coming into this process has been really beneficial. And then sharing this kind of play with the people I love who love this game. And it's a real good game that these two guys play.
King James runs through June 7th at Detroit Public Theater. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and our One Detroit AAPI Stories series highlights the lives of the AAPI community in Southeast Michigan. We hear from Dan Moen, who was born in the Philippines and adopted by a Metro Detroit family. Although he grew up in a loving household, Moen was always curious about his past. He talks with his partner, Joe Hunter, about the search for his birth mother and what happened when he found her.
No matter how close your family is, there's still something that's very difficult to pin down of that belongingness feeling. So I remember, like, throughout most of the beginning of the relationship, that was something that was very difficult to show to you, was that document papers and explain all this. Because for a very long time, saying adopted, adoptee, almost felt like a stigma. And it almost always followed up with, do you know your real parents? Do you know your real mom? Which for adoptees, never say that. Oh, here we go. Because our real parents are the people who raised us. So this is my dad. Real implies your parents aren't really your parents. Biological is the better term, or I've heard other adoptees say bio-parents. Lolo is grandfather. I remember you saying, why don't you go on Facebook? Like, why don't you just try? Because Facebook at that point now became big.
So now we're in the 2010, 9?
2015 is when I first did my first search.
Okay, 2015, there you go.
So I remember going on the Facebook and I compiled this formal letter. And because of these papers and this particular album that was given, I had some clues. I knew what my birth name was, which was Rene Palumpa Badong. Mm-hmm. So I used that name and searched on Facebook for everyone who matched the descriptions. Mm-hmm. I sent out this little letter that just kind of said, hey, I'm Dan, I'm an adoptee. I just want to learn about myself. I'm not looking for money.
It's interesting that has to be like the disclaimer before, like, I'm not literally looking for your money.
It's so...
Is that American? Is that us being Americans? Like, that's the first thing that we think about when...
It's just kind of like, who is this person?
Yeah.
And yeah, I sent it out to so many people and I didn't hear anything. And I was just kind of like, you know what? It's probably not meant to be. It's not meant to be. And I just kind of let it go at peace.
So that was just like another knife in the heart.
Oh, big time. Yeah, that definitely was. So then a couple years later, 2017 rolls around, and that's when I did a follow-up with all the people I messaged several years back. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to give it another shot in the dark.
I remember it took some convincing to get you to do that follow-up.
I remember you were very supportive of them. Just be like, just do a follow-up. Do it like you do with a job application. Just be like, hey, I'm just kind of wanting to know who they are, that kind of thing. And one got back to me. And he, now my cousin.
I love it.
Was living in Saudi at the time and said, yeah, sir, I'm going to totally forward you to my auntie who lives in Texas. Long story short, she ends up sending me a message back saying, we found your birth mother. And I remember to this day, as soon as my birth mother came onto the video, I was with my dad, and all she kept saying was, I'm sorry.
Aww.
Yeah, that was hard. She was apologizing up the storm because she was just like, I'm sorry. And I kept telling her, I'm like, don't apologize. I just want to say thank you. This was literally like almost 30 years of my life, just wanted to say thank you to this person because she gave me this chance. And so we connected and everything. We had a long conversation. My dad was right there. We were like connecting and having this dialogue back and forth all about this experience. And then it turns out Tita Joy was planning a family reunion that year.
Oh.
So Tita Joy and a bunch of other Filipino families from all over the world were planning to go back to Negros Oriental. And I was hesitant. I was like, do I really want to go back? I don't really know.
Why wouldn't you?
Yes, so I decided, I'm like, I have to do this. And we just arrived in Manila. So Now we're just waiting for our baggage. I saved up the money and everything. My dad and I flew out there in 2017, and we went all the way back there. And it turns out a lot of the relatives haven't spoken to each other since they were teenagers. Because I came into the picture, a lot of these family members reconnected again.
I love it. I love it.
All right, Mageti on Negros Island Oriental. So I went back, and it felt like a movie. Like, I documented the entire story on my YouTube channel, because I'm like, there's no way I can explain this without making it sound like I watched a movie. So right now I'm actually talking to some cousins of mine. I get to meet all of the relatives, all the rellies were there. It was absolutely incredible. This is all my family. But it was also very overwhelming, because I'm like, I'm related to all of you, but I don't know how. So
Oh, family reunions are always
complete with matching shirts.
Oh my God.
The Palumpa family reunion, and I love it.
They
My
are-
dad got one, everything.
I'm glad to know that it's not just me, because when I go to a family reunion and different people like Auntie so-and-so from, 3 cousins down knows you, you look just like your daddy, and and I don't know who you are, but you know me apparently.
The aunties actually said that. The minute they saw my photo, they're like, he is a Badon, he is a Palumpa. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay, because they saw because of my face or whatever. So I understand that. And then I finally got to meet my birth mother. So after the family reunion, we take a jeepney. The Filipino way. Cram everybody in. And we drive up this dirt path and stuff into this real rural part of the island. I just remember it's just the feelings were just overwhelming, but I remember being in so much shock. It was more of a shock feeling. It wasn't even like, oh yeah, I get to meet. It was like, oh, we're here.
I can imagine you're taking 2 daggers out your heart right there, where you thought, okay, never gonna find her. Again, not gonna find her.
I was very skeptical. I was actually kind of concerned that I was just kind of like, is this like my birth mother? Is this the real family? Are they playing, making this up so they get money? There was a lot of skepticism, both sides. In fact, I found out on that side they weren't sure either, because this random kid comes dropping out of the blue and saying, I want to meet you. And so I totally understand that. So we go to this house, and it's this little tiny village kind of thing. There's a bunch of these little homes, and this entire community comes out. And I remember having my phone. I was just telling my dad, I'm just like, please film this, because this is once in a lifetime. And we just lose it. We just lose it.
Yeah.
All of the emotion for the past almost 30 years just spewed out everywhere. She was holding and everything. She's wiping her face with her shirt, and I'm drenched in sweat because it's hot, but also tears just everywhere, and it was burning because it was just it just wouldn't stop.
Said she's sick.
She's sick?
Mm-hmm.
With what?
I don't know.
Yes.
She's feeling better, but sometimes. Oh, okay. So gamay. So when you were little, no. After she left you, she couldn't help but talk, think about you.
Oh, gamay pa rin siya kung diyan mga wa pa 2 months.
Okay.
Pag man panganak.
Okay. So she left you, and you're not even 2 months yet. Okay. Nakay papel, day?
Chill. Ano man, chill? Hiningan ka na kanina pa.
Because she's thankful that you're a baby.
So it turns out the adoption papers were pretty accurate. There's a few details that were a little bit off here and there.
I was gonna ask you, yeah.
Yep, everything was pretty accurate, but the part that really hit me was my birth mother thought I died.
Oh, she had mourned a whole loss of a child, and wow.
Her whole life.
Oh my God.
She said that when I was born, I was extremely sick, really sick, and she thought that she's as soon as she gave me for adoption, she was just like, he's gone.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So having me coming back was just overwhelming. So I printed out my entire life story on this gallery thing. I printed it up, put all these photos, and I bring this packet of all my friends because I'm saying to myself, this is a reunification of not just my birth family and myself, but this is a reunification between me, myself, my family, and all my friends. because I consider them my family too. So this was like a nodding of 3 trees. So I'm like, I want you all to be a part of this.
Back home, my mom is my mom.
It's mama.
It's mom, mama.
Or nanay.
And this one here I can call nanay.
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 That is a simple called as mama nanay.
Mama nanay. Mama nanay. My birth mother.
I barely even remember the whole day completely, just because like the only way I remember is from the videos that I shot, because it was just the emotions were through the roof. And it turned out we ended up inheriting some land, which was like absolutely amazing. It was some beach property. So my brother has a part of land, and my Tita Joy was like, because there's 2 of you, you get beach property. I'm like,
hey, look, what did we say in the beginning? My name is Joe, I'm a Sagittarius, I love long walks on the beach, right?
well, now you got a whole entire family beach that you can go run up and down all you want. And 3 months after we met, my birth mother passed away.
Oh, how was that for you?
That was really emotionally overwhelming. I grew up not knowing who this woman was, but it was amazing how one vacation it felt like we got to reconnect an entire life story.
And you can see more of Dan Moen's story, along with our other AAPI stories at onedetroitpbs.org. Let's turn now to our ongoing caregiving coverage, which includes a series of conversations with local caregivers. Today we hear from 3 Oakland County residents. Jane Morgan talks about caring for her husband, and Ronald and Karen Lemon share their experience of raising a special needs daughter.
We adopted our daughter from Korea, and prior to actually getting her, we had signed every paperwork saying we could not handle any form of special needs.
When she arrived from Korea, she was 4 months old, and there were no known disabilities at that point in time. It was probably a couple months or so later, and she was approaching 6 months, and developmentally she was not doing anything pretty much that she should have been at that point in time. So it was a finding, okay, after the fact.
Physically, she has the ability of a 3-month-old, and she was probably 12 at the time when I finally saw that. And you know, that hurt, but I thought about, well, that's true. She's never learned to roll over. She can't hold herself up. There's a lot of things in that way. Our challenges have always been transportation, transitioning from a spot to another spot, and one of my biggest pet peeves has been the blue stripes in a parking lot because people don't respect them, and we need to go forward and get a close spot so I don't have to be dragging a wheelchair out in the rain for half a parking lot.
We share everything now, but early on, while I was at work, the burden was on Karen, okay, who stayed home and tended to her, took her to, you know, she had a lot of doctor's appointments, a lot of other things, so there was a lot of things to do. Even though she wasn't working, she had a full-time job at home.
The community of special needs parents is strong. She grew up with a lot of people in the Rochester area. She's on Special Olympic bowling, and there's a lot there that you share with people.
Nothing can prepare you for what we have gone through, to be quite honest with you, you know. So it was a lot of live and, you know, and learn along the way. And you know, she did a lot of the legwork. I have to admit, Karen was just fantastic at that. But yeah, I learned along the way. I learned, you know, and it wasn't easy. There was never really an easy step, okay? But I have to also say, it's been very rewarding, okay? She is just a wonderful, wonderful young lady.
My husband was my first caregiver experience. For 8 years, he had Alzheimer's. As the time went by, it was, you needed more help, more help. You know, he was kind of a heavy guy, and he was a lot to handle. I did have a nurse come in at one point in time, and she helped me get him upstairs, and, you know, she saw what I did. She said, wow, I never thought I'd do it that way. I said, I've just been doing this for years. I said, you know, it's what you do for a loved one. It was easy for me to take care of him because I was married to him for 55 years. I would make him laugh every day because he was easy to make laugh, okay? So you had to think he was feeling things, but you didn't know what he was feeling because he never could tell me he hurt or this happened. You know, I go, does this hurt? Does this hurt? Does that hurt? You know, no response. Basically, you got to get the family involved, you know, the doctors involved, those type of people that can help you with stuff, you know, can caregiver information. I bring him here every week, and he was totally taken care of.
And you can see more caregiving conversations and special reports at onedetroitpbs.org. That'll do it for this week's show. Thank you for watching. Head to the One Detroit website for all the stories we're working on. Follow us on social media and sign up for our newsletter.
Brought to you in part by Empart Alliance, Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation, and by across our Masco family of companies, our goal is to deliver better living possibilities and make positive changes in the neighborhoods where we live, work, and do business. Masco, a Michigan company since 1929.
Support also provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit PBS.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit PBS. Through our giving, we are committed to meeting the needs of the communities we serve statewide to help ensure a bright and thriving future for all. Learn more at dtefoundation.com.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.